For over 12,000 years, the Astract Galactic War Academy had produced the greatest warriors the universe had ever known. Every powerful civilization, from towering reptilian empires to ancient energy-based species, sent its most gifted young fighters to earn glory within its legendary walls. Graduating from the academy meant becoming a living weapon, respected across thousands of star systems. Its grand combat arena had witnessed countless historic battles, but today was expected to be nothing more than harmless entertainment. Word had spread that the Galactic Alliance's newest member species was finally sending its first exchange cadet, humans. The moment the announcement echoed through the arena, laughter rolled across 80,000 spectators like a tidal wave. Alien cadets leaned against one another, pointing toward the entrance. Veteran commanders exchanged amused smiles from the observation balconies, while ancient combat AIs silently recorded every reaction. Then she appeared. A young human woman walked calmly into the arena. She was almost half the height of many competitors. No intimidating battle armor covered her body. No plasma rifle rested on her shoulder. No glowing exoskeleton amplified her strength. She wore nothing more than a plain gray academy uniform and carried herself with quiet confidence, as though she had stepped into an ordinary classroom instead of the most feared battlefield in the galaxy. The chief examiner looked at her with visible curiosity. State your preferred combat discipline. Everyone expected the usual answers. Quantum blades, gravity hammers, particle cannons, psychic warfare. Instead, the young woman slowly raised a single finger. I only need this. For one heartbeat, the arena became completely silent. Then the laughter exploded louder than before. Some cadets nearly fell from their seats. Even respected instructors struggled to hide their amusement. One finger? Against the galaxy's finest warriors? The Academy's undefeated champion stepped forward with a confident grin. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, his body was protected by living bioarmor that adapted to every attack. He had never lost a duel since entering the Academy and had shattered records that were centuries old. He looked down at the human with open disbelief. You intend to defeat me with one finger? She simply nodded. Nothing more. The combat countdown illuminated the arena. 3, 2, 1. The champion exploded forward with terrifying speed. Each footstep cracked the reinforced arena floor, and the shockwave rippled through the massive stadium. Most spectators expected the human to disappear beneath the first strike. She never threw a punch. She never stepped backward. She merely shifted slightly to one side and extended that single finger. A gentle touch landed on the warrior's wrist. Nothing seemed to happen. Then everything changed. The giant suddenly froze in place. His weapon slipped from his hand. His knees crashed against the floor. Every muscle in his massive body refused to obey him. Medical drones rushed into the arena within seconds. Combat scanners flooded the holographic displays with impossible readings. No injuries detected. No energy discharge detected. No toxins detected. No neural attack detected. No physical trauma detected. Yet the champion remained completely motionless, fully conscious but utterly unable to move. The laughter vanished. Confusion spread across the arena like wildfire. Even the commanders rose from their seats. One elderly instructor stared at the human in disbelief before whispering, "What did she just do?" Deep beneath the academy, an ancient artificial intelligence awakened from a protocol that had remained sealed for 10,000 years. Forgotten archives unlocked one after another as it analyzed the encounter. Its mechanical voice echoed through the classified command network. Alert confirmed. Human combat doctrine identified. Probability of extinction level historical rediscovery, 99.97%. Hashtag part 2. The technique that shouldn't exist. The impossible victory shattered the Academy's confidence. Within minutes, the Grand Combat Arena was sealed under maximum security. Every student was ordered back to their quarters, while scientists, military engineers, and combat analysts flooded the battlefield. High-resolution scanners examined every inch of the arena floor. Quantum sensors searched for invisible energy fields. Microscopic drones traced the exact path of the human cadet's footsteps. Nothing. No hidden weapon. No energy pulse. No nanotechnology. No biological toxin. Not even an unusual heartbeat. The young woman had defeated the Academy's undefeated champion using nothing except a single touch. It simply made no sense. For the next 48 hours, security footage was replayed millions of times. Ancient combat AIs slowed every frame until individual muscle movements became visible. Experts from dozens of civilizations argued endlessly, each proposing a different explanation. She must be a psychic. No, she manipulated gravity. Impossible. It has to be forbidden technology. Perhaps humans evolved a biological ability we've never documented. Every theory collapsed under the evidence. She had used no power except her own body. Soon, rumors spread through every corridor of the Academy. Some cadets whispered that humans were secretly an ancient warrior race pretending to be peaceful. Others insisted the match had been staged to impress the Galactic Alliance. A few even claimed the human could stop hearts with a single touch. The Academy's reputation was on the line. Its commanders refused to accept that thousands of years of military tradition had been overturned by a quiet exchange student. To settle the matter once and for all, they announced another public trial. This time, there would be no honorable duel. 5 of the Academy's most elite cadets would attack together. Each came from a different warrior civilization, trained in completely different combat doctrines. Their movements were synchronized by the Academy's battle AI, making their assault mathematically perfect. There would be no blind spots, no hosatashchen, no chance to escape. The countdown reached 0. The 5 warriors struck from every direction at once. The audience held its breath. The human never clenched a fist. She never kicked. She barely seemed to move. One small step, a slight turn. A single finger brushed one cadet's elbow, another's shoulder, a third's neck, a fourth's knee. The 5th never even reached her. Within seconds, every attacker collapsed to the arena floor. Not a single bone was broken. No blood was spilled. No one had lost consciousness. Yet every warrior discovered the same terrifying truth. Their bodies simply refused to obey them. The arena fell into stunned silence. The Academy had no explanation. No simulation in its 12,000-year history had ever predicted such an outcome. Deep beneath the Academy, where forgotten data vaults had remained sealed since the birth of the Galactic Alliance, the oldest artificial intelligence continued searching archives that no living being was authorized to access. Buried beneath layers of encrypted history, it uncovered fragments from a civilization that had vanished nearly 50,000 years earlier. The records described a legendary combat discipline capable of defeating giants without strength, armies without weapons, and entire wars without unnecessary killing. The final line of the ancient document froze every processing core inside the AI. Original creators, humanity. For several silent seconds, the machine calculated the implications. Then it encrypted its findings under the highest security classification and transmitted a single message directly to the Galactic Council. The message contained only one sentence. The species we believed was primitive created the greatest combat system in galactic history. ## Part 3. Why Humanity Hid Its Power. The shocking report reached the Galactic Council before sunrise. Within hours, the Academy skies filled with enormous diplomatic starships descending through the atmosphere. Leaders from the galaxy's most powerful civilizations arrived under emergency authority. Warriors, scientists, historians, and military strategists gathered inside the Hall of Command, where the human exchange student and her instructor waited in complete silence. No one came to congratulate them. They came demanding answers. The Council's High Marshal broke the silence. How does one unarmed human defeat warriors trained for a lifetime? The human instructor, an elderly man whose calm expression never changed, looked around the chamber before answering. You are asking the wrong question. The room fell silent. You believe power comes from overpowering an opponent. Humanity learned long ago that true power comes from understanding one. Confused faces filled the chamber. The instructor continued. For thousands of years, humans did not chase bigger weapons or stronger bodies. We studied balance. We studied how the body moves under pressure. We learned timing, leverage, momentum, and the smallest weaknesses hidden inside every attack. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a massive warrior charging toward a much smaller opponent. The human didn't resist the force. She redirected it. The attacker's own strength became his downfall. The finger is not the weapon, the instructor said quietly. It is only the final key. The real weapon is knowledge. Every military commander watched in stunned silence. Generals who had spent centuries designing stronger armor suddenly realized they had overlooked something far more dangerous: the ability to make strength meaningless. One council member finally asked the question everyone feared. If humans mastered this long ago, why hide it from the galaxy? The instructor's eyes grew distant. Because we learned the cost of worshipping power. Ancient images appeared across the chamber. Earth covered in smoke. Cities reduced to ruins. Machines fighting wars without mercy. Weapons capable of erasing entire nations in minutes. We nearly destroyed ourselves, he said. Every generation believed a larger weapon would bring peace. It never did. After surviving our darkest centuries, humanity made a promise. We would never again measure strength by destruction. We would teach discipline before violence, control before victory, and wisdom before power. The chamber became completely silent. For the first time, the Council understood why humanity had entered the Galactic Alliance with modest technology and peaceful diplomacy. It had never been weakness. It had been restraint. Before anyone could speak again, emergency alarms echoed throughout the Hall of Command. A military officer rushed forward, carrying fresh battlefield reports. His voice trembled. The Vorik Dominion has begun its full-scale invasion. A giant holographic map burst to life, revealing dozens of frontier worlds falling one after another. Entire defense fleets were being crushed beneath the unstoppable advance of an empire that believed only overwhelming strength could rule the stars. The council members stared in horror. The Vorik army was famous for one strategy: meet every problem with greater force. Exactly the kind of enemy humanity had spent centuries learning to defeat. Hope and desperation filled the room as every leader slowly turned toward the young human cadet who had changed everything with a single touch. The council speaker stood and asked the question that could decide the fate of the galaxy. His voice was steady, but his eyes revealed genuine fear. Will humanity teach the galaxy before it's too late? Part 4. One finger against an empire. The answer came without hesitation. Humanity agreed to teach. But there was one problem. There wasn't enough time. Only 3 days after the Galactic Council's emergency meeting, long-range sensors detected an enormous shadow spreading across the outer star systems. Thousands of warships belonging to the Vorik Dominion emerged from hyperspace, darkening the skies like an endless storm. Planet after planet fell silent as the Empire advanced toward the Galactic War Academy. Panic swept across the galaxy. Commanders ordered every available soldier to arm themselves with the most powerful weapons ever created. Massive plasma cannons lined the Academy walls. Orbital defense platforms charged their planet-killing lasers. The human instructors walked past every weapon without touching a single one. Instead, they gathered frightened alien cadets inside the central training hall. There is no time to make you stronger, the oldest instructor said. So we will make you smarter. The lessons were astonishingly simple. Do not fight force with force. Control your breathing. Watch your opponent's balance. Move only when necessary. Use the attacker's strength against them. Thousands of cadets repeated the same tiny movements for hours. One careful step, one precise turn, one perfectly timed touch. Many alien warriors couldn't hide their disbelief. These tiny movements will stop an army. Some laughed openly. Others quietly prepared backup weapons, convinced the humans had already accepted defeat. Then the invasion reached the academy. The gates exploded inward as gigantic Vorik shock troops charged through clouds of smoke. Each warrior towered over the defenders, wrapped in reinforced battle armor and carrying weapons powerful enough to tear apart armored vehicles. Their battle cries echoed across the valley. The defenders did not charge. They waited. The first Vorik commander swung a massive energy hammer with overwhelming force. A young alien cadet, trained by humans for only 3 days, stepped sideways at the last possible instant. One hand guided the attack. One finger touched the warrior's shoulder. The giant lost his balance, stumbled forward, and crashed into his own soldiers. Confusion spread instantly. Across the battlefield, the same incredible scene repeated itself. Massive warriors missed impossible strikes. Perfect formations collapsed into chaos. Commanders found themselves pinned beneath their own troops. Entire assault squads fell without understanding how they had been defeated. Thousands of soldiers stood frozen as the young human walked toward the Vorik Emperor. The distance between them seemed impossibly small, yet every step carried the weight of an entire galaxy's future. Then the Emperor moved. He exploded forward with terrifying speed. His enormous body blurred across the battlefield like a living missile. Every footstep shattered the ground beneath him, sending cracks racing across the Academy's ancient stone plaza. The air itself trembled under the force of his charge, while the energy flowing through his legendary armor burned brighter than a newborn star. Military commanders closed their eyes. Alien cadets held their breath. Even the Academy's oldest artificial intelligence calculated only one possible outcome: human casualty, 99.98%. But the young woman never stepped back. She never reached for a weapon. She simply waited. At the exact instant the Emperor unleashed his final strike, she shifted half a step to the side. Her movement was so small that many spectators almost missed it. Then she raised one finger, not toward his weapon, not toward his heart, toward a tiny connection point hidden beneath the collar of his living armor. A gentle tap. Nothing happened. For one long second, the battlefield remained completely still. The Emperor laughed. "So that was your legendary technique?" Then his smile disappeared. A strange vibration spread across his armor. Golden energy that had once flowed outward suddenly reversed direction. Ancient circuits overloaded. The living metal began sealing itself layer by layer, interpreting its own master's movements as hostile commands. Warning lights flashed across the Emperor's visor. System conflict detected. Power flow reversed. Astérisque astérisque combat protocole terminated astérisque astérisque. His weapons shut down. His armor locked solid. The unstoppable ruler struggled with all his strength, but the harder he fought, the tighter the armor imprisoned him. Moments later, the mighty Emperor collapsed onto one knee, unable to move a single muscle. The human had never struck him. She had simply understood him better than he understood himself. Silence spread across the battlefield. Then, one by one, Vorik soldiers lowered their weapons. For the first time in generations, the empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds surrendered without another battle. A war that countless fleets had failed to stop ended because one human recognized the smallest flaw hidden inside overwhelming power. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed. Every military academy rewrote its combat doctrine. Training halls once filled with oversized weapons now echoed with lessons on patience, awareness, balance, and discipline. Human instructors became the most respected teachers in known space, not because they were the strongest, but because they taught others how to think before they fought. Their first lesson never changed. Power is not measured by force. It is measured by understanding. Years later, the Grand Combat Arena unveiled its newest monument. It was not a statue of a conquering general, not a warrior holding an enormous blade, not a hero standing over defeated enemies. Instead, it honored a calm young human, standing peacefully with one finger raised toward the sky. Every new cadet stopped before that statue before beginning their training. They remember the day an entire galaxy laughed at humanity, only to discover that true strength had never belonged to the strongest body. It had always belonged to the sharpest mind. And the story ended with words that echoed across the stars for generations. The greatest weapon in the universe was never a sword, a cannon, or a fleet. It was a human mind that knew exactly where one finger should touch.